and welcome back to the Sword of Truth podcast, the alcohol-fueled chapter-by-chapter reread of the Sword of Truth series with a wax-sealed craft brew on the side. I'm Jade.
I'm Nate, and on this episode we are flashing back to chapter 16 of Blood of the Fold. That is much harder to say than it is to read. Wax-sealed.
Yes, it is.
It takes a minute.
Yeah, they don't know that, but it was super easy for me. It was one try.
One take.
Yeah.
One take. All right, well, we start off this chapter with Richard writing a letter. Actually, not writing the letter. The letter had been done written.
Yes.
He is putting a wax seal on the letter so that Kaylin knows that it's from him.
Yes.
And he uses the Sword of Truth, which, if you ask me, is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. It's a giant-ass wax seal, though.
It's gotta be. He uses the hilt. So, did it mean, like, every single letter in the word truth on the hilt of the sword was visible in the wax?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he, like, dumped half of a container of wax onto his letter and then rolled his sword around in it.
A whole stick, I think, because at least nowadays they use, like, sticks of wax.
Yeah, I think they used a stick and then they put it on there, melty, and then they stamped it.
It's
Normally
so cool
it was a
looking.
ring.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he made a huge mess. Not to mention, all of that wax is now stuck in his sword.
Yeah, some of it had to be. And, yeah, because he didn't, like, Vaseline up his sword hilt. And either way, that's cumbersome as fuck. To, like, lift your sword in that way, like, ugh.
And not conducive to a fight. It's going to fling out of your hands the next time you swing it. Like, sorry, guys, I used it to write a letter again.
But it is cool, and nobody else could do it. So, I mean, it does serve a purpose.
And actually, I did think about that, too. This is proof that he wrote the letter to Kaylin, when actually it's proof that somebody sealed the letter with the Sword of Truth. It doesn't necessarily prove... I mean, okay, we know he's also including something else with it that we'll get to here in a bit. But, like, it doesn't actually prove that it's from him. It just proves that the Sword of Truth was near the letter. If you're going to be really objective about it,
Yeah, and I guess technically Kaylin wouldn't know his handwriting, but Zed would.
Yeah,
probably.
That's true. The handwriting would be really indicative of who it was.
And also the speech patterns, because Richard talks in a specific way.
Yes, that's true. So while he's sealing up this letter, Ulick and Egan, they're in the room with him because they're his number one guards. First file, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I think they're even, like, they are his personal guards, so they're above even the first file. These are his, like, dudes.
The dudes.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh, these are my dudes. He has to convince them that they'll be more ready if they're rested, right, to protect him, because he's trying to get them to sit down.
Yeah, they've been going just as hard as he has.
And they've got to be exhausted. He's at least sitting to write and stamp this letter. And he's like, dudes, come on. Honestly, you're just making me nervous. Can you please sit down?
And he's like, there's an army outside. Nothing's sneaking up on us. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah, pretty sure one of those 1,000 guys will be able to raise an alarm if something happens. So for right now, please.
Also,
please.
I'm a badass and I can sense things that you can't even fucking sense.
Right?
So, Spidey sense.
That would have been the easiest argument. Hey, I'm magic, guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
okay?
I got
Sit
it.
down. The Mord Sith, though, they stay standing, claiming they're stronger. So Richard uses a little reverse psychology on them, and he's like, all right, I command you to stand. Ha! Because, you guys look tired and slow, and so you're going to need an advantage.
Yeah, you need to stay
keep
alert.
Up with the dudes over here who are going to be well and rested.
Yeah.
So... he is happy that they have more freedom to act the way they want, but he's also worried that they're going to start testing his limits to see if he's actually a fucking nutball. Remember, he was tortured by a Mord Sith for a long time. They know his mental state.
Yeah, well, and he's doing some pretty intense shit here, pretty impulsively, it seems like.
Oh, you mean taking over a country within a day?
Yeah, that he knows nothing about.
Yeah, that's... Yes. They're like, okay, even Darkin didn't pull this shit. What are you doing? He hopes that they don't think he's crazy. I think most of us want that.
Yeah.
Because it's very important that they see that this is the only way everything is going to be okay. And, like, to protect themselves from the Order. This is all necessary.
Right. I just think it's funny because most crazy people who are, like, carrying out their plans of whatever craziness that they have, that's their mindset too. They're like, this is the only fucking way. Whether you're like a family annihilator or fucking, you think that...
A family annihilator?
Yeah, like a person who kills their family because they think that it's best for them.
Oh, like...
Maybe that's not the right term.
The world is bad, so I'm going to kill my child to keep them safe from it, kind of a thing? Okay.
And maybe it's not nice to call them crazy, but yeah, there's definitely like a psychosis there. And yeah, just along those lines. I was going to go more in depth, but I feel like I got there.
I think you got there.
But yeah, crazy people think that their way is the only way, and they do crazy big things because of it. And so, I mean, it's a little troubling that our hero is he's acting like a crazy person. A little bit.
A little bit. I think what you're getting to is, like, Richard has thought about this. He has a logical explanation for why this is the only way, whereas somebody who is a family annihilator, would have the same, like, okay, granted, they are actually crazy, so it might not make sense to us, but they have a pathway of logic in their brain that led them to believe that, and so they believe this is the only way.
Yeah, a lot of people like that will write a manifesto and do, like, make plans like Richard's making plans and, like, try to enact them. It just doesn't fucking work as well as it does for him. He's just lucky.
Right. He just happens to be the Lord Rawl, so he gets his way. Yeah. Speaking of Richard's way, he has decided to have Gratch take the letter so that he can protect Kaylin.
Okay, so on our Facebook page, on our last episode, Jenna, that's one of our listeners, commented on there, and she was talking about how it made so much sense to send Gratch that it was stupid. She didn't say it that way. She was nicer. But it just made so much sense to send Gratch to Kaylin. He can protect her, he can go fast, like, there's a million fucking reasons that she listed out very eloquently that I'm not going to right now, but I agreed with her, and I was like, hell yeah, why is this not happening?
100%.
And here we are. She was more right than she knew. Gratch is being sent to protect Kaylin, and Richard isn't dumb. It was just, he didn't have time yet.
It just hadn't occurred to him, which makes him so human, right? Yeah. How many times do you have, like, a verbal confrontation and then you walk away and, like, 5-10 minutes later, like, oh, that would have been the perfect thing to say. It just hadn't occurred to me at the time. Yeah,
or at least to our knowledge. Like, he may have thought about this for a little while and just didn't let the reader know. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because he lays it all out just like Jenna did. He, like, you can see the Rizwith, you're faster than anybody.
You can fly at night.
Yeah.
Through the snow.
Yeah.
You know directions amazingly well.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he had the thought a long time ago. We just didn't realize it. But this has been a very quick succession of events, too. So.
Oh, yeah. But Jenna totally nailed it.
Yeah, she did.
Like we were saying before, we have read the series. I've read it once and listened to it once. And there's still a lot. There are blocks of this book that I really don't remember that much. So
yeah, me either.
When she put the Gratch suggestion through, I was like, I don't know if maybe she knows something that we don't. I kind of don't think so. Because the way she had completely reasoned it out perfectly. And I was like, that really would be a good idea. And we get to this chapter, and Richard's like, well, obviously we got to have Gratch go.
Yeah.
Yes! Nailed it!
That's why I love having people comment on the episodes, because it just adds an extra thing.
Yeah. So he explains everything to Gratch, who totally gets it, because Gratch is smart as fuck. Mm-hmm. He gets sad about leaving Richard, but is assured that Kaylin will love him, and he'll have tons of friends to play with and wrestle with when he gets back. Not wanting Gratch to feel like he's sending him away like he did the last time, right? So he's explaining, like, hey, you're going to go to the lady, you're going to bring her back here, and then it's all going to be one big happy family who wrestles.
Yes. I'm not old yellering you right now. This is not that. We are still friends, and I do love the way, what's his name, Buck does the Richard.
Yeah.
No, what is it? The Gratch, Lug, Richard thing.
Yeah.
I can't. but
it's much slower, lower, grovelly. It sounds more Gratch-like.
yes, he does a great job.
But there's a problem. Not necessarily a problem, it's just something we learn. Apparently, even with Gratch flying, it'll take him multiple weeks to get to her because she's still moving. So maybe, 2 months was thrown out there?
Yeah,
which
before they
seems
come back.
excessive to me. We talked about this a little bit earlier today, actually, and we tried to figure out why it would take 2 months. And the most I got was a month. Because, okay, here's my math. They're 2 weeks away. If it takes Gratch 1 week to find them, they will be 3 weeks away. And then they're going to have to walk back because obviously he can't, carry a group of people.
Yeah.
And they do talk about how he's big, but he's not big enough to carry Richard either.
Yeah.
So even just carrying Kaylin back alone is not going to happen. So they walk back. So that's a week out, 3 weeks back. They're going to be gone for a month. You could plan on a month.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because Gratch can fly faster than people can walk. They're 2 weeks out. It'll take him 1 week to get to where they are now.
Yeah. It should. Well,
it makes
yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah.
But then 2 months means he's going to take 2 weeks to get there when they took 2 weeks to get there, and that means he's not any faster at all.
Yeah, the timeline that Richard threw out seemed like the same timeline that he would give out for, a rider on a horse or something, which implies that Gratch wouldn't go any faster while flying. And even if he's not faster, speed-wise than a horse, he's not going over the ground where there's, trees and shit that he has to go around. It's a more direct path, so he should definitely
He's going
be
the way the crow flies.
Yeah, he may not be a fucking dragon. He may not go that fast. But we know that when you're flying, you go faster because of the dragon thing. So, yeah.
I just picture Richard grabbing his cheeks. Who's a good dragon?
But yeah, I felt like we were discounting how fast the flying was going to cut down on that time. Or maybe not, but that was my thought.
That it might or might not cut out on the time. Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense that he would be able to go faster, but then they're like, a couple of months. It's like, wow, he's taking his time then.
Yeah.
Or maybe he is stopping every day. He's got to sleep sometime.
Yeah,
it's not like he's riding a horse where Richard could kind of fall asleep and just let the horse go.
Okay, maybe there is more of that. Maybe he has to, stop and eat and rest so many times more than a person could, or something.
Yeah, I can see that. But also, Kaylin's with a group of people, so that's going to be slower, so a single person could get there. I don't know. There's some questions.
Yeah.
I think is what we're getting to. But either way, it's going to take longer than I feel any of us want it to take.
Longer than we have. I feel like.
Yeah, it felt like such a perfect, send Gratch. Go, buddy, go. That'll take care of that. And then, no, you still got to wait for a while.
Yeah.
And this whole book, we're on chapter 16, has taken place in a day. Or 2, tops. So, that's going to be a long time.
Yeah. Well, and it's also funny because he's sending them directions to turn around. All the people in this giant-ass group are planning to go a totally different direction. And just on one letter, he's hoping that they all turn their fucking asses around and go back to April. So,
hey, this is going to sound crazy, but... ... You know
the place you're running from? Stop that.
So Gratch takes off, and Richard finds himself alone with the Mord Sith. Ironically, in the before times, this is not a place he would like to be in.
No.
And they try to convince him that he needs to return to Dahara, because he's Lord Rawl, and there they can keep him safe. Let the Mother Confessor come back here, and let her deal with the Midlands.
They don't know that's who that is.
No, that's a good point. They don't. Let the Queen of Gallia come back here, who is, still Kaylin.
Yes.
But yes, let her come back here and deal with the Midlands. You go to Dahara and take care of shit over there. This is the best way. But Richard explains that he has to be in the Midlands to defend the New World against the Order because their allies have their dirty, grubby fingers all throughout it, and he's the only person that can stop them. To this, they get